Hi, Tim Sells here with another episode of Straight Talk. In this particular episode, I'm talking about Ellie Flynn. She writes for the BBC over in the UK, and she's written an article having to do with network marketing. And the name of the article is Multilevel Marketing Sells, a Dream. Don't buy it. All right? And so I've kind of named this, How Dare You? MLM's promise to women is that they can stay at home and make all the money they dreamed of. While some people find success, for most, the reality is much more bleak. All right, Ellie Flynn. And I say, don't dream of a better life. How dare you? Right? In other words, okay, so it's just don't buy it. All right, so they're selling a dream, don't buy it. And that is, I'm going to break this whole thing down here, and I want you to just kind of walk with me. So on the surface, this seems like this is the summary of the whole thing, and that it's much more bleak. Okay, you need to focus on the bleak. All right, I got to take you back to like the 500 AD time frame, medieval type of a scene. And the way this thing goes down is that there's a hierarchy that is set like this, okay? All right, and no, I didn't purposely draw a pyramid. What it did is that, okay, so there was a king that conquered the United Kingdom, and or the whole continent or something like that. Don't remember my history so much, but you get the idea. And this king could not keep all the borders, and it was surrounded by water, and he couldn't keep it all. And so, and to keep an eye on it, right? They didn't have satellites at the time. And so it was kind of like, how do I keep this kingdom? And so what he did is that he divided up his land. So he took 20% of all the land, and he divided, and 80% he gave to nobles. There were, I think, 3 nobles. And a noble was somebody who had a lot of precedence, a lot of power in a particular region. Okay? And then from there, the noble, now of course, he had to pledge his allegiance to the king in order to get all this land. All right. And then you have the nobles would go out to the knights. And they would say to the knights, we will give you land. But what you're going to have to do in exchange for this land is that if we're ever attacked, or any of the kingdom is attacked, then you're going to bring your military, your firepower, all right? The knights then went out and they gave land in exchange for peasants to work on that land. And they were to produce food, meat, they were to produce vegetables for the entire kingdom. And then that is the way the whole thing was established. And so you ended up having about 95 or 98% or so of peasants. And then it went up the chain like this, okay? So that's the way it is. And they say that that is no longer in existence, but I did a video having to do with the wealth gap, and the top 0.1% of the wealthy control 90% of all the money. Well, that's pretty much the same system here. And so let me just make sure I don't want to brush across this. So 295,000 people, 295 million people in the United States, and 68,783 control 90% of all the money in the whole country. Okay? So now, it's as alive today as it was back then, but levels were based on the family you were born into. Okay? So I'm talking about the difference between dreaming and not dreaming. All right? So you were pretty much bound if you were not a part of the noble or best buds with one of the knights, okay, or something like that. You see what I'm saying? In other words, your name had everything to do with it. All right? So, but today, It's the Matrix. And I'm saying Matrix in quote because the movie The Matrix, version 1, really did a great job of creating this screen around what we all see. It's a filter. This is what reality is, and you're not allowed to see outside of that reality. These people here, the peasants, they were just born into it. They didn't have a choice. It wasn't a filter. But today it's a filter because any person can climb any direction that they want to go. They can dream. That's the truth. Okay? But if you're in the matrix so much that you cannot see that you can dream and that you can get educated and climb your way out of it, then you're in the matrix. And you might as well have the wrong last name and it be the reason. You know what I'm saying? All right. So the first step to break out of the matrix is to see that it is nothing but a filter over the top. And that filter is all of what you see, right? So I saw something the other day that there's one pharmaceutical company that has a deal with Google. And the deal with Google is that they pay them something like $600 or $700 million a year to make sure that anybody who asks about the truth about vaccines or something like that, then it shows them this particular pharmaceutical company's website. Okay? And so don't dare look outside the matrix. Okay? And so that's what I mean by a filter. And so what the web was back in 1997, 98 or so is very different than it is today. The filter kind of came back. It used to be TV stations created the filter around you. And this is what you're supposed to wear. And these are the kind of shoes. And this is the kind of hat. And you're supposed to eat apple pie. And in other words, like they had the filter then. And it was all on news stations. All right. So then stop seeing yourself as a peasant. Okay, so see that the matrix exists and then also see yourself, stop seeing yourself as a peasant and then dream. But it's not out there where you can't get it. It's something that you can get. Okay, so I had to explain that part because Ellie goes and she interviews this lady, Vickie. And Vickie was a single mom. I don't know that she's a single mom. She's a new mom, is what I do know. And she didn't want to leave her kids. And so while she was pregnant and going through delivery and things like that, she was trying to work a business. All right. So she says she felt pressured to work by her upline, the person who recruited her and made money off anything she sold or anyone she recruited. Okay, so there's that conflict because guess what? If she had a job, I don't know what pressure, she didn't describe how that pressure was actually there. Like I personally would not pressure. I say, do what you can, but if she had a job and she would be pressured, right? And she would be pressured by her boss who makes money because of what she does. And so she throws this stuff in there like it doesn't exist in every job you ever get. Okay, so that was off base. And then I was in it for about 6 months. This is Vickie talking. And I earned about 20 pounds, she admits. Okay. So where is the interview with the many single moms who have just crushed it and have made a lot of money? Where is that interview? Where is that balance? If Ellie is a true journalist, then she would be writing a balanced article. she would be showing both sides and letting the viewer take the position that they want. But that's not what's happening here at all, okay? So I have I printed this out, and I received this back in July 19th, 1999. Some of you weren't born yet. And this was from the Wall Street Journal. They wanted to do an interview with me, and I said, sure. And so they sent me the questions that they were going to ask me, okay? So at that particular time, let me give you a quick backstory. On that particular time, I had written a video called Brilliant Compensation back in 1997. And there were 44 million of these that were downloaded and viewed, all right? And so it was like everywhere. And so Wall Street Journal wants to interview me. I said, okay. And so question number one, what's the main lure of MLM? The main attraction. Question number two is, what's the profile of the person who turns to MLM? Number three, what's the profile of the successful MLMer? And I wrote an answer, so don't forget, we're on question number three, okay? I wrote an answer to this. I said, business owner mentality. That is the profile of a successful MLMer. But deeper than that, when and where does one get a business owner's mentality? If a person is hungry for more, they'll surmount most any difficulty to learn how to do something. A bomb squad technician who wants more and is willing to go through the learning curve, as an example. And that was me, right? Or a woman who has no limits because she wants to stay home with her child instead of going back to work. In other words, that would drive a person to get educated, to learn how, right? Okay, so part B of question number three is the unsuccessful. So let me read number one. What's the profile of the successful MLMer? And then this one is the unsuccessful, question mark. And then my reply was quitter. Not willing to realize that every obstacle is solved through education. Important thing is to not go to the self-doubt stage, but instead go to the get more education stage. Now remember, I wrote this in 1999, all right? Okay, so question number four is, do you have any reliable MLM national statistics? Know anyone who does? Okay, and so I would have given him that. How many MLMers have bought into Brilliant Compensation? So he didn't really know that Brilliant Compensation was just an explanation of the network marketing industry. He thought it itself was a business model. And then number six is, can you refer me, and this is key, okay, listen closely. Number six, can you refer me to a former MLMer who has a compelling dropout story? Someone who was smart, worked hard, and still quit. Not an average quitter, but someone you respect. And that was when I canceled the meeting. Okay, okay, so you kind of get the agenda here. They're not interested. They're not interested anymore. And by the way, I quit my subscription to the Wall Street Journal, okay? Right then. I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are not about making money. So I bring this back. Where's the interview? Where's the balance? And it's not balanced. It's the matrix. It's the, how dare you try? Okay, so my videographer motioned me over there and he said, we're running a little bit long. And so what I want to do here is I'm just going to push this to the next video and we'll call it good right here, but you don't want to miss the next part, all right? So make sure you tune into the next video. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this particular whole conversation, what you thought about the Wall Street Journal, like that they're purposely trying to exploit those people who fail and things like that. And so let me know what you think about that. And I'll see you in the continuation of the next video.